does everybody know roughly what I mean when I say awareness? Like the word awareness. Yeah, I mean it's a word we all understand. But when it's quite often, we don't, until you start doing a meditation practice, you don't often really investigate what awareness is. You just sort of, it's just a given thing in your life. And so, like, say some definitions of what you might say awareness is. And don't worry about if how it's going to sound. Let's just say some things about awareness, just so we can identify what we're talking about here.
Feelings and sensations.
So being aware of feelings and sensations. That's how you know you're having a sensation in your body, or you're having a feeling, is that you're aware of it. Yeah.
And sounds.
And sounds, yeah. So basically, the senses, through your senses, information's coming in through your senses, and it's landing in your awareness, and that's how you know something is happening. So you could also say that's how you know that you exist right now, is that you're aware. Yeah. An expression I like for it is the lights are on. Yeah. If you. So what would happen if you weren't aware right now? What would happen?
Be unaware.
Yeah, you would.
What's going on?
Yeah. So something may be going on, but you're not there to experience it.
You're not connecting.
Yeah. So. If someone's in a coma, they're not necessarily expecting. I think sometimes people do. They are aware in comas, but that's not a good example. Well, let's just say someone is just knocked unconscious somehow for whatever reason. They are not subjectively having an experience, but someone sitting at their bedside can see their body. It's still that they can see their breathing and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, so something can still be going on, but subjectively, you're not having any experience.
You're not having like a present observation.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's like the next level of observation.
Well, so. One of the words that is used traditionally in Hinduism is witnessing awareness. Sometimes call it the witness. That from this perspective, you are just witnessing life or the moment happening. But it's not my favourite term. Witnessing is a little bit passive. So in Chinese and Japanese language, they have a word which means heart/mind. So a way you could translate that in another way into English would be feeling awareness. So the awareness, from one perspective, can seem quite remote, but if you think of it as that kind of passive witnessing thing, but if you add into this sort of feeling awareness, so that would be a bit kind of heady, but you can also feel your awareness actually spread much further around. And so this is a good thing to investigate. So where is awareness? Where is it? It's kind of a trick question, this.
It's internal in the body.
Surrounding your body.
Where does it feel like awareness is located?
No, because you can
Yeah.
feel like, say someone comes here. If I have my eyes shut and you put your hand here, you can feel like you become aware that there's something in your space.
Yeah. But is it? I mean, could you find a particular? So if you say it's in your brain, is that? Can you find a particular point anywhere where it's like that's where awareness is?
Sometimes.
Yeah. So say more about that.
I was thinking, like, if you've got something that's touching you, even if it's something very, very slight, then you can feel it in one particular area.
Yeah.
Or if somebody is looking at you from across a room, you can feel that look. And you feel that look on your face.
Yeah.
So
what?
When there's most energy, like if you bash your knee or something, and then it's like.
But if you're feeling something right here, normally you're also feeling other things. So if I can feel this here on my arm, but I can also see the room, and I can hear the birds and the rain. Yeah, I can feel other parts of my body. To what it's kind of a trick question, because awareness doesn't have simple location. Like my fingernail is here. It's really easy to say that and see it. But awareness is one of the terms they use for it in meditation literature is in traditions is that it's formless. That sounds really abstract and weird, but so we've all established that we know we know roughly what we're talking about when we say awareness, but it's where if you try and look for this. So this is really important point. If you try and look for awareness, to see awareness, you're not going to see awareness, because awareness is the place from which you're seeing. It's not really a place. It's this kind of formlessness, but it's not a nothingness, because we're all talking about awareness. We know awareness is something. Yeah, it's this light. The lights are on. This brightness. So awareness illuminates your experience. It's almost as if you flick the light on, and all of a sudden you're perceiving all this stuff. And one of the really good metaphors that's traditionally used is a clear orb like this. So your awareness is kind of like this, but this doesn't suggest the sentient nature of awareness, the kind of conscious. So if this was conscious, it would be a really good metaphor for it. But if you put this sphere onto something, it takes on that colour. Okay, you can see that pattern's coming through it. But then if I put it on here, it's now white. You can put it in here, and it's kind of copper, bronze coloured. Yeah, but those things, they don't stay inside your awareness. So I'm going to do a guided meditation to try and get you into locating your identity as awareness, so we can find it. So to start off with, we're going to artificially separate our awareness from our experience, just so we can see the difference between the two things. But really, it's all part of one thing. Okay, but do you know what I mean? That sometimes to learn something, you have to artificially separate things out to say, well, that's that and that's that. Yeah, but really, this is all one experience. Has anyone got any questions so far? Don't worry if you don't understand what we're saying, because this is very difficult stuff to describe, because it's so getting at the very essence of who we feel we are. that language kind of fails here. But at the same time, we can use language to kind of roughly guide us to the experience. Any questions so far? No? Okay, so we're going to do a guided meditation. And just bear in mind that what we're doing here, this is not, we're doing something specific, and I'm trying to guide you into a kind of state of consciousness. And treat it like a game. Yeah, we're just following some simple instructions, and we're going to try and have an experience, and just go for it. And don't worry. I'm not suggesting that this is all you are as a person. Yeah. Okay. So just get in a position that's comfortable for you. We'll probably do about 20 minutes of this, and we'll do a little Q&A afterwards, and then we might do a short sort of 10 minutes afterwards. So we might clear up a few things from the Q&A, and then do another 10 minutes, and then we'll have a break. All right? Okay. Right. So a comfortable position, and eyes open, eyes closed. And we just sit in silence for a minute or two, and then I'll start talking, doing guided meditation. Okay, so you'll notice that you can hear sounds, you can hear the rain and the birds. And those sounds are effortlessly arising inside your awareness. You don't have to make any effort at all to be aware of those sounds, to notice those sounds happening. Notice that if you've got your eyes open or your eyes closed, you can see stuff. So my eyes are closed, and I can see patches of light and colours coming and going, kind of pixel dots. It's not pure blackness, but even if it was pure blackness, I'm aware of what I can see. And that requires no effort at all. We're not not trying to focus on these things with any effort. Just notice that these are the sounds and the sights are effortlessly arising, and you're aware of them as they happen. Now, notice the sensations in your body. That they arise effortlessly in your awareness. It doesn't take any effort on your part to notice the sensations in your body. They just happen and you're aware of them. Now, can you taste anything? Or smell the tastes and smells? Might be quite subtle. And they arise in your awareness effortlessly. And there's a sense of your awareness and the taste and smell arising, and that they're not identical. Your awareness is not identical to the smell or the taste or the sound. They're arising, they're coming and going, but your awareness is always the same. And you'll notice that through this meditation, your awareness hasn't changed at all. But the sights, the sounds, the smells, the sensations are kind of like a kaleidoscope, ever changing and moving. Inside your unchanging, formless awakeness. Now notice your mood, your emotional mood. How are you feeling? And again, you'll notice that you're effortlessly aware of your feelings as they arise. Your feelings changing, shifting and morphing inside your awareness, but your awareness is always the same, this open transparency, illuminating your experience in this moment. that because your feelings are coming and going, they're not identical to your awareness. Your awareness is something else, other than these experiences. Now notice your thoughts, whether they're images, words, sentences strung together, little bits of songs, parading through your awareness, moving around inside your awareness, but they are not your awareness. You're aware of your thoughts. And it doesn't take any effort to be aware of your thoughts. As a thought arises, you're aware of it. It's the nature of your awareness to notice, to illuminate. Be conscious of everything happening in this moment. If you're trying to see your awareness, remember that awareness is what's doing the seeing. You can't see your awareness. You can't see yourself as awareness. Your awareness, as awareness, you're free from all of these things that are moving inside you. Sensations, thoughts, feelings. If you had a thought like, am I doing this right? Just notice that you're aware of that thought. It comes and it goes. And it hasn't actually changed your awareness at all. So now bring a memory up from 5 hours ago or so, this morning, when you woke up. See yourself there. Where were you? What were you doing? And you may be brushing your teeth or having breakfast. And you'll notice that you are in a different room, doing something completely different, different sounds, different sights, different sensations, different thoughts, different mood. But something in you was the same as it is now. Your awareness, that transparent awakeness, was absolutely the same then as it is now. but everything else that shares different. And now bring up a memory from halfway through your life. So try and bring up a specific memory, sort of halfway through your life at some point. See yourself there, really, really feel that moment. Where were you? What were you doing? What were you thinking? What were you feeling? What could you see? What could you hear? Everything was different in that moment. All of those things are different. You were a different person. You were younger. But what in you was the same in that moment as it was this morning and now? What we're calling awareness, but awareness is just a word pointing to an aspect, a dimension of your identity. It's actually when we say I was there, it's really what we mean when we say I. We feel that there's an I that's always the same in each moment of our life. When we say I was there, what is that part of you? It's not a part, really. We haven't really got a good word for it. And it's not necessarily an it. We're now calling it an I. It's your sense of I am. Not I am this, I am that, just I am. Now bring up a memory from your childhood, a specific time, a moment that you can remember vividly. So you'll notice that, again, everything's different. Your body is the body of a child. Your thoughts are that of a child, your feelings are that of a child. You're in a different place, everything looks different, different sounds, sensations. But your sense of I am, the awareness is the same. And awareness isn't a thought or a feeling, a sensation, a sound. It's the transparent awakeness that illuminates all of those things. Effortlessly. This awareness, this I-am-ness, your absolute subjectivity, is free from all of those things, free from thoughts, free from sensations. They all arise inside you. They come and they go, but you don't change. Now we'll just sit for a couple of minutes as awareness, letting everything come and go inside us. And then I'll ring the bell and we'll finish the meditation. So, say something when you feel ready.
What did you just say?
So how was that for you? What came up for you?
I went really quickly into like hypnagogic state of sleep,
Mm-hmm.
and then so it's like colours and stuff. And I feel like I was looking at through like a little tear in the darkness. It's like I was looking at fields, like fields like above.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that's Illinois or what. It was just like looking out on a plane kind of thing. And then I was really into, like you know the bit when you're just going into sleep, like you're not quite. And then you said awakeness, and I felt my body go. Ugh. And then the different things that you said. Where were you 5 hours ago? It's like I was sleeping. And then where were you? I don't know what next one you said.
About halfway through your life.
Yeah, halfway through my life. I was in bed reading a book in a black hoodie. And then I went back to another one, being in bed but with my mum. And just feeling really safe and like having like her boobs in my face and just being really cuddled and held, and it was really nice. But I'm feeling really sleepy, and I could, every now and then I could feel my body just like kind of thing.
So, but you were kind of you were dreaming.
Yeah.
Pretty much,
Yeah.
you know, that sort of looking at the fields and all that kind of thing. So you can be awake in your dreams. Do you know about lucid dreaming? You've heard of that before, where you're having a dream, You're asleep, you're dreaming, but you know you're dreaming.
So consciously.
So awakeness is in your dream. So even if you feel like you're falling asleep and you start to have hypnagogic imagery and sounds happening. I mean, one time I was falling asleep and I just heard clear as a bell my mum going, "Ralph," just out of the blue. You know, so you can hear things or have very intense sensations. You obviously see all the things in dreams, but so just because you feel like you're falling asleep and dreaming doesn't mean that your awareness is gone. If you can remember it, so you remembered you were seeing the fields and stuff, means that you were aware. Yeah. So you hadn't lost awareness in that moment. What about when these different periods in your life where everything's different? What can you say about that in you, which was the same in all of those moments? Is there anything you could say about that?
Like familiarity.
Well, awareness is the ultimate familiar thing. It's so familiar. This is a really important point. It's so familiar that we just don't even notice that we're aware. It's like we just take it for granted. Nobody tends to point it out to us. Yeah,
I can't actually say something else.
Yeah, I mean, it's not. It's a very difficult thing to talk about, but what's important about it? So when you start to meditate, you sit for hours and hours and hours, and you notice that things come and go. You've got sensations coming and going, thoughts coming and going. But there's a part of you, what I'm calling awareness, but we could also call this your sense of I am present. Presence is another word. Yeah, but that part of you doesn't change. So we kind of feel in our lives that there's part of us that's always the same, even though as we age, we get older, everything's changing. But there's a part which is like there's some kind of essence to who we are that's always the same. But if that part of you that's always the same can't be any of these things that are coming and going, because if it was, then what you were thinking about last Thursday is gone. But that kind of feeling of the essence of who you are hasn't gone. You still feel like, I am here, you are here in this moment, like you were in that moment. And it's like it's an ongoing inquiry, really. Like who is that? That's the same in all of those moments, effortlessly aware of all of this stuff going on.
It's almost like a really tiny, thin, little thread, like a spider web, but that's just like drawn out and it's like connecting all of it, but all these other stuff is changing.
Or it could be really big. I mean, in a way, when your eyes are open like this, your awareness kind of feels like it's as big as this room. In a way. All of this is contained inside you, your awareness. Like this. But remember, this isn't awake. Your awareness is awake, lit up, what we call sentient. To anyone else, what about you, Karen?
I'm rather confused.
Yeah. This being confused is no problem.
I have always blocked things out. Always. And when I was sat, just being, I couldn't hear the birds. I couldn't hear the rain. I could hear your voice. I could feel my presence in the room, so I had some degree of awareness. But it wasn't until you talked about the birds and the rain, and I said to myself, why can't I hear them? That I suddenly became aware of them.
Mm.
And it was almost like you had to tell me they were there before I was able to give myself permission to hear
Mhm.
them.
Mm-hmm.
But I've always been able to sit with nothing in my mind at all. And people have said to me, you can't do that, that's not right. Nobody has ever got that ability to do it. And I don't know whether it's a blocking mechanism. I haven't got anything that I'm aware of that I've ever needed to block. But it feels almost like that I almost have to give myself permission to be aware of things.
Mm.
Like you disassociate that, you just...
Yeah, absolutely. But then, by the end of the meditation, I could hear everyone's breath.
Mm.
So once I'd been given that permission to be aware of what was around me, I was able to do it. And in some respects, sometimes in my life, to be able to block comes in very, very useful.
Mm.
The amount of operations I've had without any numbing, because I don't need it, because I can just not feel, not be aware of what's happening, is incredible.
Mm.
But I don't understand why I can't just be aware.
Yeah.
Why I have to give myself permission to do it. It's maybe I'll never understand it.
Yeah. So you can get into states of consciousness with meditation where you're so relaxed that you are not thinking. Your body's so relaxed it's not really many sensations are going on, and it feels like nothing's going on at all.
That's exactly what it's like for me,
Yeah,
but it's like that for me most of the time.
Yeah.
It's almost like I've got it the wrong way around.
But you're still aware in that moment. All that remains is awareness. So that's it's different than, say, most of the time in deep sleep, they're not aware. It's just deep sleep is, you don't actually even experience it. You just wake up in the morning and you've had this sort of like experience of blackness or something. People that do a lot of meditation can, just like with lucid dreaming, be awake in deep sleep too. It's not something I've had a lot of experience with myself. I have had, having had periods of insomnia in my life, when you lie in bed all night awake, you do actually go into dreams and deep sleep, but think that you haven't. But then you think, where was I just now? Oh, I was on a hill doing something with some different people. And it's like, oh, I wasn't in my bed, so I was asleep. I was dreaming then. And then you can have experiences of being awake, but nothing's really happening. So, but it's something I haven't had that much experience with, so I can't talk very directly about it. But in meditation, sometimes I've been so relaxed that nothing's going on, and all that remains is that feeling of I am here. But what is that I? Because there came a point in my meditation practice where I realised for the first time in my life that I wasn't my thoughts. So I'd grown up thinking that I was my thoughts. I was so identified with thinking, that's who I thought I was. But then when I noticed that my thoughts were coming and going and I was aware of them, and then also I had experiences in meditation where my thoughts had stopped totally, like what you were saying, and I was still there. So it's like, oh, yeah, okay, I'm not my thoughts, and I'm not my feelings and all those things. I'm not saying those you're not at all. I own my thinking and my feelings. I take ownership of that, and they're part of who I am, but they're not all I am. And the same with you. And what I'm trying to point to is, what is this, what we call awareness, that's always the same in every moment and doesn't require any efforts. So this is where, what you're experiencing, this kind of blankness, quite often is the result of a lot of effort, people in meditation putting effort in to quiet their mind, all that kind of thing. But this, what we've been doing here, is something slightly different, where you're disidentifying your exclusive identification with your body, with your thoughts, with your feelings. You're going back, pushing back and back and back. So you can feel there's a part of you that's none of those things, because they're coming and going. And the reason why that is an important thing to realise through your meditation practice is that, one, is your awareness is effortlessly aware. Like, it doesn't take any effort on your part to see this stick moving up and down, yeah, or to hear this sound. Yeah. Can you feel your body now? Yeah, you just feel. Yeah, you don't have to like go and feel my body. Yeah, or I say, right, you ready? I'm going to lift this stick up. I want you to look at it and lift it up, and you'll go. Yeah, yeah. But when people take up a meditation practice, they kind of think like they've really got to try really hard to focus, and that's a different type of meditation practice, which we're going to do later with our breathing. But this one here is all about the part of you that is effortlessly free. So one of the characteristics of this part of your nature, your identity, is this part of you is totally free of everything. Free from literally everything. And you kind of need a bit of evidence to actually believe that. So the evidence is through doing this meditation practice and seeing all of these things coming and going, but they're just, your awareness is untouched by these things. And your awareness is not a thing that you have. At this level, you are awareness. So when I say you, in this specific sense, that's who I'm addressing. And when I say I, and awareness is identical in me as it is in you. And the birds. Any sentient creature, the sentience, yeah, the awakeness is identical. The reason why it's identical is that it doesn't have a shape. A formless doesn't have, I mean, you can't smell awareness, you can't see awareness, you can't touch awareness, you can't hear awareness. So it doesn't have a form in that sense. It's a bit like this. But nonetheless, we all know what we mean when we say awareness. We even have a word for it, which is awareness. This might sound quite abstract, but I'm talking about really concrete stuff here. Your direct experience of being alive right now in this moment.
I've got a question.
Yeah.
So the meditation I just did,
Yeah.
my experience was, it really was effort, and I felt like I was kind of liquid,
Mm-hmm.
going to liquid and like trailing off.
Yeah.
And I had to keep like reeling it back, like and listen to you. So
Yeah.
what bit of that was my awareness? Like the bit that's like, come on, like pulling it back in, or the bit that's like, or yeah.
No, the awareness was the bit that you that noticed all of that was going on.
Okay.
And I know that happened because you're talking about it.
Okay.
You laid down a memory of that happening. And the reason you were able to lay down a memory of that happening is you were aware and awake in that moment. Does that help? So okay, let's say if you feel like you're making an effort, effort feels almost like a sensation, doesn't it? You know, like a kind of a tensing, You're aware of that sensation of effort. You can feel your effort, the effort you're making. Yeah, who can feel that? The effort's not feeling the effort. You are feeling the effort. And when I say you, I don't mean your thoughts and your feelings and sense. I'm talking about you, that awake alertness. Now, so even if you feel like you're really dull and bored and heavy in the moment, you're still aware of that. And your awareness is effortless. And your awareness doesn't change. And one expression they use is your awareness is timeless. Or your awareness doesn't experience. Your awareness, time kind of moves through your awareness. Your awareness is always now. You don't have a part. Does that make sense? You are always now. Yeah.
You can have thoughts and you can have memories and like other things, but that's not the bit that's.
Those are different to awareness, aren't they? So, if you think about the past, you're thinking about it. You may even you might have a memory of the past, and it might make you feel really happy or really sad or something. Okay, but that's happening now. Think about the future. That's now. You will experience the future at some point, but it will be a now when you experience it. And the past was a now. There's only, from the perspective of awareness, there is only now.
That makes sense.
It sounds really weird to talk about this stuff because this is not part of normal conversation in our culture. But when you start meditating, this becomes part of the things you experience, and you have to talk about it. And so in the meditation traditions, this kind of conversation is really central to it. It's about who are you? And there's a guy called Ramana Maharshi, who was a famous Indian teacher of meditation and stuff. And one of his core things was asking this question: who am I? And think, well, am I my thoughts? Well, my thoughts are coming and going, and they're always changing. Well, if I'm my thoughts, then I can't be my thoughts because I feel like I'm always me. If you know what I mean.
It's very interesting.
What about you, Lindsay?
I felt most of the time like I was just floating. And I kept getting really weird, like sharp sounds, and they're coming almost like it was inside my ears, and radiating in and out.
Because of my headache, I've got quite a kind of
Yeah, it was quite like that.
going through in my head.
Sharp.
So would you say that they felt unpleasant?
Slightly, but not completely.
Yeah.
It's weird.
Well, one of the really great things about waking up to this part of your identity. So I'm not saying this is who you are in every sense of the word, but this is a dimension of ourselves which we don't normally pay attention to. But it's a massive loss to not actually realise this about ourselves. And this is one of the benefits of doing this kind of meditation, is that you realise that you're not your thought. You're not those unpleasant sensations. They're not the totality of who you are. So if you get better and better at resting as this open, transparent awareness, which is the nature of your mind. One of the terms they use for it is the ground of your being. the very like ground of your experience. You can't have an experience without awareness. No one's ever had an experience outside of awareness. It's the essential part of having any experience. But it's not, awareness isn't a thing, it's actually you. So in this sense, we're saying you are awareness. You don't have awareness. So when I started out meditation practice, I felt like I was my personality and I had something called awareness. And then over the years, through doing meditation practice, it's kind of done a 180. And now I feel more like I am awareness and I have a personality. And why that's a good thing is that at the very centre of your sense of identity, you are completely free from everything that arises inside, in your life. Which means that if you're having a panic attack or something, if you become really identified with that panic attack, it's absolutely excruciating. And that's one of the problems with this thing of you identify with this particular pain, or you become identified, and you've probably learnt about this within the mindfulness stuff. If you become overly identified with your feelings, or you break up with your partner or something, and you feel like that's it, your life's over, who you were has been destroyed. If you have this other dimension to yourself, this completely free, totally free from everything, free from all of this stuff, you can actually feel these discomforts and pains and tragedies and things in your life move through, and they do their thing, and then they change into the next thing.
So giving it space rather than being consumed by.
Yes, it's almost like you've gone if you become overly identified. So let's take a panic attack, for example. If you become overly identified with that panic attack, you've kind of lost yourself in a way. You might say you've gone unconscious. It's like the panic attack has just taken over who you feel you are. And then you're completely at the mercy of this panic attack. And it can just keep perpetuating and getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So, whereas if you've developed this capacity to notice that you are also aware of your panic attack, so there's a part of you that notices and is aware of your panic attack and isn't your panic attack, because this part of you will see your panic attack happen and then change into the next thing. You might have whatever, half an hour of panic, and you're feeling it move through you, do its thing, and then it might turn into, I feel like making a sandwich. Or so, it turns into the next thing. And then it might, that sandwich is so good, and you feel happy, and then you feel happy again, and then you'll feel sad again, and then you feel neutral, and do you know what I mean? You're not being hijacked by all of these experiences. You've noticed there's this spaciousness inside you that is utterly at home with whatever's happening. So your awareness doesn't reject anything that happens. So you'll be so if you break your toe by stubbing it on a wall, you would be as aware of that as you would be eating your favourite chocolate bar. So your awareness has no preference over any experience in your life, which is a shocking realisation to your personality, or what is been called your ego in more traditional language. Your personality can't even believe, can't understand how peaceful and at home your awareness is with this moment. There's a really great Christian term, which is the peace that surpasses all understanding, which is a term I love for pointing towards this part of yourself, because your mind and your personality cannot understand how, as awareness, you have no preference over any experience that happens. And that's the key to the freedom part of it. You have no preferences, and that's why you're free as that. But just remember, I'm not saying this is the whole of... I'm not saying your personality doesn't exist. Your personality has preferences. Would much rather eat a bar of chocolate than break your toe. So does this sound weird and abstract, or is it landing anywhere? I mean, give me some feedback here.
Making sense to me.
Cool. It's so simple. That's why it's so hard to describe. It sounds weird to talk about it, and it seems really abstract, but what I'm trying to point to is just so simple. And it's not like you don't make awareness happen. You just are aware. So this is another thing that's important to remember with meditation. We try... Often when we take up a meditation practice, we feel like we have to make ourselves aware. Now that can happen with the more focused concentration type meditation, which we'll do later, like breathing meditation. But this kind of meditation is effortless. You don't make yourself aware, you just are. It's a given.
Can I ask you
Yeah.
about subconscious
Mm.
and the person who eats chocolate bar, for instance,
Mm-hmm.
and doesn't realise they've done it?
Yeah.
While they're eating that chocolate bar, will they be aware that they're eating it, but they just won't remember it because it's not then in the current moment? Or is that too deep for this type of stuff? It just, the thought just came into my head as you were talking, and
Yeah, okay, sometimes you open a pack of biscuits and before you know it, they're all gone.
but then you know, deep down, you know that you've done that.
Yeah,
But then,
Maybe you just disassociate because you don't want to think that you've done
yeah, and
it.
I'm not talking about me.
yeah,
I'm talking about other people I know who've actually hunted around the house for the chocolate bar which they haven't eaten,
yeah.
but clearly they have.
Okay, yeah. So there are all sorts of unconscious motivations going on in our lives all the time. Have you watched Derren Brown
Yeah.
on TV? The hypnotist guy. You've seen the kind of things he gets people to do. They don't even know they're doing it. He's doing that as a stage show to kind of show people this, but we are all doing things all the time that we don't know why we're doing it. So, if you think of the iceberg analogy, what we experience and we think we know of ourselves, is the tip of the iceberg. There's like right underneath, there's all sorts of things which are motivated. So just let's say you had an eating disorder where you were just addicted to eating food, and you ate way more food than was good for you. I'm actually pretty good now about eating food, but I was brought up to be a big eater when I was young. It was like you've got to finish your plate, and being a growing young lad and all that stuff. I played rugby and all. It was like, so that kind of set up. So it had gathered its own momentum in my life that meant that I would eat more food. When you're growing and you're young, you can eat. You have hollow legs, as they say. You just pile in the food. But then once I got to say 19 or something, my body had finished growing, and I didn't need. If I keep chucking in all the extra calories, I'm just not going to keep growing. I'm just going to get fat. And so at a certain point, I realised, without even, so it was out of my awareness that I was eating too much. eating more than I needed. And I had to bring into my awareness that I was eating too much. And that happened by whatever. I had a friend that seemed to never eat more than they needed. And I was like, wow, that's a thing? You know, people can just eat what they need, you know. And then all of a sudden I was aware of another possibility. But before that, it was not part of my awareness. So you can only be free from things that you're aware of. Is what relating to what you say. So you know, when people are then when somebody's a hypocrite, they're not, so they say, I never get angry. Or they say, that person's always so angry, you know. Yeah, or that person's so lazy, you know, they never do anything. And then you're looking at this person, you're thinking, you are the laziest person I've ever met. Or, you know, you're a hypocrite. You know, you wouldn't maybe say it's their face. Or you might be thinking, or you might say, oh, if you know them well, you might say, oh, come on, you're such a hypocrite. You're angry all the time. And they're like, no, I'm not. And they really believe it. So I'm really in favour of doing psychotherapy. For example, I've been seeing a psychotherapist for 12 years, I think, monthly. And it's been just such a beneficial thing for me. So, but, you know, when you do psychotherapy, you bring these things into awareness so you can be free of these unconscious patterns. So this kind of meditation will only make you free of what you're aware of. Yeah, so that's why it's really important to do psychotherapy and body work and all those things to bring into your awareness the things that are unconscious. Yeah. And quite often you get gurus and things that are amazing at meditating, but they've never done any psychotherapy, and they're exploiting people, you know, with sex, power, and money, basically. And they don't even think they don't even realise they're doing it. It's all unconscious motivations, and they're kind of meditating not on being free from everything, but they're not being free from those things that they can't see, and they will never get to see them because all their disciples are like, oh yeah, you're so great, nothing's wrong with you, you know, and they won't go and do any psychotherapy because they think they're perfect. And it's not only gurus that do that, you know, all sorts, and to a certain extent we all do that. We all think we're better, we'll think we're amazing and we don't need to do X, Y and Z. That's quite a long-winded answer
That's
to...
making a click in my mind actually. I'm just thinking, I had a client who had a huge issue with their weight, and one day after coming back from holiday, they looked at their holiday photos, saw what they looked like in the photo, brought it into the current moment, so into their awareness, and then said, right, I'm going to do something about this, because for the first time they'd actually faced it head on.
Yeah. Well, that's another thing that is said about that awareness is actually curative. Awareness is healing just on its own. So that's an example of it. This person, they'd never been aware of their eating problem, and then all of a sudden they were aware of it for the first time, and the power of that recognition and that awareness was transformative for them and healing.
Absolutely. It's very powerful, isn't it?
Yeah. So that's one of the benefits of recognising this part of yourself.
I've got a question.
Yeah.
What's the relationship, I think that's the right word, between awareness and focus?
Okay, so you can be aware of your focusing.
Okay.
You know, so awareness is an expansive thing.
Yeah,
Focus is like laser. So in a way, focus and attention is a little bit like pouring awareness through a very thin straw at something, a bit like what you were describing that. But awareness generally is experienced as something big.
So you can focus and still have awareness.
Well, we'll do it. That, you know, after a break, we'll do breathing meditation where we're going to focus exclusively on our breathing. But you'll notice that you can do that and have this effortless panoramic awareness going on at the same time. And there's one before I think we'll have a break. There's one other thing I want to say is this is a concept which is going to be really helpful for today. And for me, there's this chap called Ken Wilber who's written loads of books, and I got this from him. And when I came across this, this was like light bulbs were just going ding, 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 ding for me. It's about first person, second person, and third person perspectives. So, first person is I. So your first person perspective of this room is, what's this room look like from where you're sitting? Yeah. So I've got my first person perspective on this room. You've got yours. Yeah. So if we all eat some strawberries, we will be experiencing the strawberries ourselves in the first person. Yeah, I'm not tasting your strawberry, for example. Yeah. So second person perspective is when you are relating to other people. So we are in a second person. It's like you plus another. Yeah, there's a second person. You're in relationship with other people, talking. Yeah. And then third person perspective is, so you would, in second person perspective, you would say you. Yeah. First person is I, second person is you, and third person is it. So things. Okay. So I put this cup out there. I've got a third person relationship to this cup. This cup is an it out there. So I can look at you, and your hair is kind of an it for me. It's like your hair, it's a thing. But you are not an it to me. You are a you, because I know that you have an I. I know that what it's, in a way, what it's like to be you, because it's similar to what it's like from my first person perspective. And this is really important, and we'll go through this today, but with talking about how people treat themselves and other people. Some people treat other people as if they're an it, like an object to just be kind of used or abused. Yeah, because they are not accessing that person as a you, an other person, because they are not understanding that person has a first person perspective just like them. So there are people that are unable to make that. So very young children, they kind of treat other people around them quite badly because they live in an egocentric world where there's only them. And then as they develop, they understand that their mother is another person. You know, normally they do things like bite their hand and they feel it. They bite their mum's hand and they don't feel it. It's like, oh, why's that happening? And then it slowly dawns on kids as they grow up that there are other people. And some people have, a psychopath or a sociopath is someone who treats people like things, you know. But why this is really important, I'm slightly going off on a tangent then, but why this first person, second person, third person perspective is really important for today is that when we talk about awareness, that is a third person term. We're talking about awareness as an it, as something. But awareness is also your first person perspective too. It's your I. So if we only ever talk about awareness as an it, you'll never have the experience of being awareness yourself. So when you're meditating, doing meditation practice, if the goal of your meditation is always an it, you'll never achieve it, because you're not making that it an I. It's not going from third person to second person to first person. So some people meditate because they want to be enlightened, and enlightenment is a thing out there that they've got to achieve. And if it's always out there, you're moving towards it, but it's always moving away. But if you can realise that third person, second person, first person perspectives simultaneously exist all the time, then your awareness itself is an enlightened mind. You already have it. And if you do meditation practice, you'll discover that through the evidence of your practice.